Nestled across Taiwan's diverse landscapes, from misty mountains to coastal plains, indigenous communities have been crafting wines for generations. These drinks, made from millets and sticky rice, are more than just beverages. They are living testaments to ancient traditions and cultural resilience. From aromatic millet wines of the Paiwan to sweet sticky rice brews of the Amis, indigenous winemakers in Taiwan are reviving a nearly lost art, one grain at a time. My name is Paul Peng Wang, an expert in alcoholic beverages with over 20 years of experience. We will uncover age-old recipes and time-honored customs in this episode of Taiwan on the Rocks. What comes to your mind when we talk about traditional wine? For the Austronesian indigenous peoples of Taiwan, traditional wine holds a sacred place in their culture and history. Following the annual harvest, communities would first store enough food for the coming year before using the remaining crops to make wine. This made the resulting beverage both rare and precious. The unique proportions of these ingredients form the soul of each indigenous group's sacred recipe. Most Taiwanese refer to traditional indigenous wine as millet wine, even when it's often made from sticky rice. This reflects the historical importance of millet in indigenous cultures. In 1996, the Paiwan people of Laolaolan in Taidong realized that they needed to bring back millet cultivation in order to revive their fading traditions and observances. This grain is crucial not only for wine, but also for ceremonies where millet stalks are burnt to communicate with deceased ancestors. Due to the high cost of locally grown millet, sticky rice has become a common alternative. However, some indigenous groups, particularly the Paiwan, are enthusiastic about wine made from 100% millet. Paulus, a member of the Paiwan community in Taidong, keeps the tradition alive by making cuisine and wine from millet. Every year during the Harvest Festival, the community holds a winemaking competition, celebrating their revived tradition and ensuring its continuation for future generations.
现在要酿纯小米其实会有点困难啊，因为小米现在取得也不容易，然后价钱也高，所以现在部落的人愿意酿纯的小米酒其实越来越少，而且小米跟糯米酿起来会比较甜，然后如果纯的小米它会带一点酸味，所以其实老人家在做酒他们会加一点点糯米。像这次酿酒比赛啊，我们以往酿酒比赛是小米比较多，糯米比较少，现在是因为小米越来越少，越来越贵。我们现在变成糯米比较多，小米比较少。差不多星期五晚上就会发那个要酿酒的米和酒曲。然后我们会统一在星期五的时候，把大家的酒都收到会场，然后统一加水，那个才比较标准。那就是好不好喝，就是看自己的技术啊，看这个人适不适合酿酒的手啊，还有你的瓮好不好啊，对。评完分的时候再决定说，就是哪一坛是第一名要买，做我们的收获季的基金这样子。那昨天那一坛就卖了5000块。那其他的就是把它全部倒在一起，然后那2天的活动就是拿来分享，就给大家喝。其实也不用担心自己的酒好不好喝，因为全部加在一起了，已经不知道谁的好喝不好喝了。我们刚开始就是前面几年其实一直都没有用小米来酿酒，都是用糯米。对，等到我们开始在94年、95年的时候开始做文化复振的时候，才开始使用小米，祭典才会出现比较多的小米。就是纳贡啊也会看得到，还有小米酒的制作，不然以前都是糯米的其他部，然后糯米酒，然后就说这样子我们弄个小米收获季有什么意义？都没有小米的东西啊。其实我也是很遗憾，就是我婆婆他们那个部落，他是专门在酿酒的，然后他也会做酒曲，可是那个时候我还没有很大的兴趣，我婆家的人都没有人会做，然后也没有人会做酒曲，然后我就觉得好可惜哦，因为当我想要学的时候，我婆婆已经生病了，就没办法教。其实部落老人家他们之前都是看过，甚至帮长辈去采集过药材，他们是跟我讲说，现在那些植物他们在这里都看不到了。都已经消失了，因为现在农作物很多都是就是喷农药啊，这个文化酒曲文化就在我们部落其实算消失了。 很希望就是在30周年的时候，希望就是可以大家一起做酒曲，嘿，然后一起酿我们自己做的酒曲的酒，这样子。
对啊，这个很有意义。
对啊。
At the heart of indigenous winemaking lies Qu, a mixture of milled grains and specially prepared herbal tea. It's rich in nutrients and trace elements, and it is formed into small ping-pong-sized balls where a blend of fungi and microorganisms flourish. These balls, also known as wine cakes, are the secret to turning simple grains into intoxicating elixirs. When crushed into powder and mixed with cooked millet or sticky rice in a sealed container, wine cakes could produce alcohol rapidly. While the process might sound simple, mastering it is an art form. Experienced winemakers understand the intricacies of every step, from rubbing techniques to temperature and humidity management. It requires years of learning and practice to grasp the nuances in every step. I'm here in Ga'adaran, also known as Dianguang Village, where Amis people have lived for generations. Community leader Malulan Tahuk has dedicated himself to preserving the traditional wine made from sticky rice. He has successfully collected and preserved all the plants used in producing Qu, which is indispensable in making the traditional Amis wine.
其实要做酒曲的人不是男生啊，都是女孩子啊。后来像会做的人，他会找他的大女儿去传承，可是大女儿不学了就没有了。那我后来有人在做的时候，我把它记录起来。那个是被已经阴干的那个植物很难认，我花了3年就继续认识这个植物。那后来就认识以后拿回来种，种不起来就明年再来，是这样，一直到现在。这个叫做野菊花，山上的长出来的，后来就是拿回来种，不然的话，哇，年纪大了还要去山上去找，不一定是长的地方每年都会长，有时候没有。我们就花了20几年才有这个10种都在家里这样啊。那每一个人做的那个酒酿都不一样。那我们做的第一个就很光光了，所以我们这个10种植物的味道可能是比较香一点只是像我在做一直有这个兴趣来去研究这个植物。其实老人家他不会教给别人的那我们就是公开的，就大家知道就好了如果是我们今天不写这个东西的话，可能是已经断层了。那些老人家都不在了。
In early 1950s, the KMT government implemented national assimilation policy. By 1957, indigenous homebrewing was forbidden under the guise of correcting bad drinking habits. The policy had a profound impact on indigenous culture and traditional observances. Ironically, lower quality rice spirits produced by the Monopoly Bureau was introduced to the indigenous communities, and it gradually eroded the traditional millet wine culture. As more community members become aware of this problem, the art of indigenous traditional winemaking is now experiencing a revival. Truly Wine in Taidong is representative of indigenous traditional wines of the Amis. The founder Li Liu has a wealth of stories about why the winemaking tradition was once at the brink of extinction, how he learned to make wine, and how he salvaged the culture.
早期其实米很珍贵，我们看饭都吃不饱了，为什么还把这个珍贵的米或小米去酿酒？那最主要是因为要祭祀，就是现在讲所谓的丰年祭啦。以前是家家户户会酿酒时代，所以根本就不会有什么酿酒会失传这件事情。然后直到现在社会渐渐的丰年祭大家都旅北嘛，不知道是从什么开始，丰年祭用的酒不再是自己酿的，到最后就是用买的，很便宜又快速。那我只要丰年祭前一天回来准备就有酒可以喝了，我不用提早1个礼拜、2个礼拜回来还要帮部落酿酒，所以开始年轻人就学不到啦，所以就慢慢就失传。那比较幸运是我们就是我太太这边的老家阿嬷，她就算是部落大家很知道的酿酒师。那转到我岳父比较可惜，就是说做酿酒的核心做酒曲， 他就没有再做了，因为做酒局很麻烦，他要可能花1个月、2个月的时间。那时候就买得到所谓的商业曲，所以他就开始买商业曲，然后去酿酒，所以他只保留了后段的酿酒的功法。其实我们酒酿造的跟清酒或跟韩国的马杯酒是蛮相似的。所以会先把糯米蒸熟，然后目前我们初恋还是用传统的那个就是原木的木头去蒸熟之后，然后把它放凉。在放凉的时候会加水，让它可以呈现粒粒分明的状态。然后放凉，我们就会撒我们的那个曲，搅拌曲的时候也比较均匀，然后我们就会入瓮。然后入瓮完，我们就封瓮，大概是2个礼拜就可以了。因为我跟我太太算是，我们都讲我们是都包，就是在都市长大的原住民嘛。那所以你说对，包括原住民的语言啊，一些文化其实没有很熟悉，只有偶尔过年丰年祭的时候才回来。我们在想说，就从酿酒的文化这条路开始学习。本来是周边田调嘛，就往外扩散田调，才发现哇，原住民酿酒世界真的很精彩。慢慢接人家参访，然后甚至政府机关也来参访，发现很像我们做这件事情是很有意义的，就是真的可以累积到一个知识量，可以分享给大家。未来的目标就是说，你看国外有清酒的品酒师，葡萄酒也有嘛。为什么没有小米酒的品酒师啊？其实应该要有一个职业是专门品小米酒的，所以我们就是以这个目标开始建制这个知识系统。所以我们除了现在学习传统知识、持续田调之外，我们也开始吸收包括葡萄酒的知识或者清酒的知识，把它汇整之后，我们就是有点像中西合并这样，看看可不可以研出自己一套未来可以培育小米酒酿酒师这个职业的一个知识的系统，这样子。
Traditional indigenous wines, whether made from sticky rice or millet, are produced in small quantities. In the past, they were made only for special occasions and shared sparingly. Today, these wines still play a crucial role in ceremonies, festivals, and observances. It's clear that for these communities, winemaking isn't just about producing a beverage, it's about preserving a drinkable culture. Here in Laiyi, Pingdong, I'm attending a traditional Baiwan wedding. Join me as we discover the unique alcoholic drinks served on such a special occasion.
其实台湾族的婚礼非常的复杂。今天是贵族的，还算简单。如果今天是传统领袖不是3天3夜的事，这可能是半年都要开始准备了。今天是各地的朋友、亲友都来共襄盛举这个重要的婚事，所以我们要拿东西来。犒赏他们，就是分享东西给他们，这样子制作这个酒的时候大概有4个大的禁忌。第一个就是比如说妇女月事来，或者是说妇女怀孕，也不能做。再来第2个就是比如说你要腌泡菜啊、腌酱瓜什么的，你就不可以做小米酒。第3个禁忌就是，假如说今天部落里面有人出殡，你隔天就不可以做小米酒。我们丰收的时候，我们一定要告知祖灵说我们已经丰收了。那个祭仪完毕以后，之后就是旧米了，你才可以酿，是这样子的，这是很重要的。你用新米的话，就是没有受到祝福。
其实我们不会像一般的酒这样给他喝到烂醉。其实我们这个酒，我们差不多就有节气我们才会去喝。外地的朋友比较喜欢甜的，比较喜欢偏甜的小米酿。我们比较喜欢带微酸微呛这样子的味道。那个就比较会酿的时间会比较久一点。
那为什么会先点左边？是因为我们很敬畏非自然死亡的这些祖先，那是希望他们回来祝福我们。你看他们生下我们了，然后我们都没有去回馈感恩的话，那当然就不会相对嘛。你跟他有示好有友好，才会被祝福啊。那酒它的用意就是除了要先祭告祖先，比如说我们什么时候这个家族要做什么事情，我们要先做祭告。希望我们这个喜宴或者是什么事物要讨论的事情，那就是无不的祝福，然后事后都会很平顺。
Have you ever participated in an indigenous ceremony? Which traditional wine would you like to taste? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For more stories about alcoholic beverages in Taiwan, Follow us on Taiwan Plus.